The NBA's biggest names just played their last games of the season, but the next wave is already here. On June 23rd, the 2026 draft arrives, and the commissioner himself called it the deepest class in many years. Two superstar-level prospects sit at the top, a National Player of the Year right behind them, and real talent stacked deep into the second round. So let's break down the entire class tier by tier. Here's the plan. First, why scouts in the league are this excited about the depth. Then the top tier, the franchise changers at the very top. Then the next wave of lead guards. Then the bigs and wings. And finally, where this class ranks historically. Every stat is verified, the tiers and projections are mine. Let's start with why it's so deep. This is Game is Culture. If you want the draft broken down with real numbers and not just hype reels, hit subscribe. We're chasing 1,000. It's free and it helps a ton. Now, the depth. Why it's so deep. Start with what makes a draft deep. It isn't just a great number one pick. It's talent at every position all the way down the board. This class has it. Multiple lead guards, two-way wings, skilled bigs, and intriguing international prospects. Commissioner Adam Silver flatly called it one of the deepest classes in many years. When the league office is hyping the depth, the scouts behind it usually agree. And depth changes how the whole night plays out. In a thin draft, the talent dries up after a few picks, and the lottery turns into a gamble. In a deep one, teams picking 10th or 20th can still land a future rotation player, or even a starter. That's why this draft matters to almost every franchise, not just the ones at the top. There's value to be found everywhere. The top tier. It starts with AJ DeBonsa. The BYU freshman led the entire nation in scoring at 25.5 points a game on 51% shooting, adding nearly 7 rebounds and almost 4 assists. At 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan, he's the prototype modern wing, a big shot creator who can score from anywhere. He's the consensus #1 talent, and it's easy to see why. Right there with him is Darren Peterson. The Kansas guard averaged 20 points on gorgeous efficiency, 38% from 3 and 83% from the line, while adding about 2 stocks a game on defense. He's the best pure guard prospect in the class, a polished 3-level scorer with real two-way upside. His only knock is health, a freshman year shortened to around 24 games. Then there's Cameron Boozer, and don't sleep on him. The Duke freshman went for 22.5 points and over 10 rebounds a game, shooting 56% from the field and even 39% from 3. He became just the second Duke freshman ever named consensus National Player of the Year. A skilled, powerful, two-way big who produces immediately. Some boards have him #1 overall. And rounding out the top tier is Caleb Wilson. The North Carolina freshman put up nearly 20 points and 9.5 rebounds on a blistering 58% from the field, while adding a steal and a block and a half a game. At 6'10" with that kind of defensive activity, he's a versatile two-way forward. His jump shot needs work, but the size, motor, and feel make him a top 4 lock. So that's the top tier, and it's loaded. A nation-leading scorer in DeBonsa, the best guard in Peterson, a National Player of the Year in Boozer, and a versatile two-way forward in Wilson. 4 prospects, 4 different archetypes, all with real franchise cornerstone upside. In a lot of drafts, any one of them is the clear #1. This year, they're fighting for it. That's how strong the top is. The next wave, lead guards. Behind the big 4 is a deep run of lead guards. Arkansas's Darius Acuff put up 23.5 points and over 6 assists a game, a downhill scoring point guard. Louisville's Mikel Brown and Houston's Kingston Flemings are pure table setters with real size. And Illinois' Keaton Wagler blends scoring and playmaking. If your team needs a ball handler, this is the draft to find one.
What's notable is the variety. Acuff is a bucket getter who can run an offense. Flemings and Brown are more classic distributors. Wagler is a combo who can do both. Teams chasing a point guard don't have to reach for one specific type. They can pick the flavor that fits their roster and still get it in the lottery or just after. That positional depth is a luxury most drafts don't offer. The bigs and the wings. The front court is just as rich. Tennessee's Nate Ament is a 6'11" wing with sky-high upside, a 5-star talent still rounding out his game. Michigan's Ade Mara is a 7'4" rim protector who swats shots in bunches. Veteran bigs like Yaxel Lendeborg fill the stat sheet, and Houston's Chris Senick is a mobile rebounding center. Length and rim protection are everywhere in this class. And the wing depth is the most valuable part. Big switchable forwards are the currency of modern basketball, and this draft has them at the top with Debonsa and Wilson, and deeper down with Ament and intriguing international names. Every contender wants more length on the wing. This is the class to find it, even outside the top 5. That's a big reason teams are so excited. The international flavor. Don't forget the overseas prospects, who add another layer. Kareem Lopez out of New Zealand is a productive young forward with size and feel. Sergio De La Rey, a Spanish guard playing for Valencia, is a big lead ball handler with pro experience already. International prospects like these often slide on draft night, which means a smart team can grab pro-ready talent at a discount. More depth, more value. Why the depth matters. Here's the practical payoff. In this class, the talent doesn't fall off a cliff after the lottery. Scouts believe rotation players and even starters will be available well into the 20s, and that productive veterans and upside swings fill the entire second round. For rebuilding teams, that means multiple cracks at real players. For contenders picking late, it means a genuine chance to add youth on a cheap deal. And history says deep drafts age well. The best classes are remembered not just for their number 1 pick, but for the stars who emerged from the middle and back of the first round, the players everyone missed on. A deep class gives more prospects a real runway, which means more late round hits. Years from now, this draft may be judged by who came out of pick 15, not pick 1. Where it ranks. So how good is this class really? With 4 potential cornerstones up top, a deep run of lead guards, switchable wings, and rim protectors stacked into the second round, this is, by reputation, one of the strongest, deepest classes in years, exactly as the league has built it. It's not a one prospect draft, it's a full board of real NBA players, and that's rare. The one caution, as always, is that draft hype and draft reality don't always match. Some of these prospects will boom, some will bust, and a few names nobody's talking about today will become the steals of the class. But on paper, on tape, and by the numbers, this is a special group. Front offices have been waiting years for a draft this rich. And that's what makes draft night must watch. A loaded board means more trades, more surprises, and more franchises walking away with a piece of their future. From the number 1 pick down to the back of the second round, almost every team has a real shot at getting better. In a deep draft, nobody has to leave empty-handed. To set the table, remember the shape of it. At the top, Debonsa, Peterson, Boozer, and Wilson, any of whom could go number 1. Then a wave of lead guards. Then the bigs and wings. Then the internationals and the upside swings. 8 verified standout names before you even reach the part of the draft where the steals usually hide. That's a deep board. So that's the 2026 class, top to bottom, one of the deepest in years. 4 cornerstones up top, real talent at every position, and value hiding all the way down the board. So who's your number 1? And which sleeper do you think becomes the steal of the draft? Tell me below. And if you want the full mock draft and every pick broken down, subscribe and join the family.